Welcome to the Innovative Pedagogy Podcast, where we inquire with the greatest minds in academia, where innovation, creativity, and authenticity meet the best teaching and learning practices for educators all over the world. Most importantly, hoping all those we come in touch with leave inspired and ready to change their world. Here's our host, Chris Garcia. Welcome to the Innovative Pedagogy Podcast. I am your host, Chris Garcia, and I am thrilled to introduce our special guest, Edvar Bautista. This interview holds a very special place in my heart because Edvar was one of my former students, and now he's embarking on his first year at CalTech. He is pursuing a bachelor's degree in the division of engineering and applied sciences with a major in mechanical engineering and a minor in aerospace engineering. Welcome to the program, Edvar. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
Hey, this is like a dream come true. Every teacher's desire is to always see all of their students succeed. And the very fact that we've been in touch and the very fact that you found me via social media a few years ago and even on LinkedIn, I'm just really impressed. So, but let's go ahead and dive right into who you are, Edvar. I see you representing CalTech. So it sounds like first off, how's your first year of college going? How are you enjoying it?
Honestly, it's been like a roller coaster, up and down. Like, it's a huge change from high school, especially like just coming in here with this whole idea of like, yes, it's like one of the top engineering schools and that kind of stuff. But actually being here, like I remember before I got in, I did a trip with my family a bit like before decisions came out, and I was just like, dang, like I really like this school and like stuff like that. But I, of course, kept my mind open. I was like, it's really competitive. I'm not sure, but now being on the other end, like walking through the same places I walk with my family before being admitted, and now actually like going here and like going to the classes, like it just makes you be like, I'm just really grateful to be in the position I am. And although it's very challenging, I'm just really happy to be here, and like I'm ready to take on the next 4 years.
Well, my advice to you would be to embrace the opportunities that happen, create a healthy rhythm and schedule, utilize that calendar. If you don't use a calendar, use a calendar. I will say that a lot of my successes in college and in grad school happen to be because it's just organized. I organize myself, and also make sure you organize enough time to have fun, just like the way you did to have fun with your friends yesterday when you guys went to the beach. I'm not going to say what time, just in case your parents are listening. So you guys had fun at the beach. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Well, let's start with the first question. And I basically want you to share with our listeners, which one of your most cherished memories from our class and what made it so memorable? And how did it impact your learning experience?
Yeah, so I feel like the thing that will always stick on to me was, I don't remember exactly the exact scenario, but I remember we were writing like an essay with revolving something about Star Wars. Like it was like comparing something within the like Star Wars movies. And I'm not sure if it was like an argumentative essay, we were just comparing and contrasting. But I remember at the end of it, we uploaded that essay or editorial into like, I don't know if it was called EduBlog or something like that. Like we posted it up there. And I'm never going to forget that I got a comment from someone from the Lucasfilms team. And I remember you were like, oh my God, that's someone from like the team or whatever. And I told my parents when I got home, no one believed me until like the award ceremony where you said it while you were giving me my award. And it was just that just stuck on. Like I honestly, I've tried multiple times to gain access to that account again. But I because it was just so crazy to me. Like from that, like that's when I realized that like, dang, like I can actually like have that much outreach, and like that much like my work from my sixth grade class can reach so much, like can go so far. And it just got me on like this role of like starting to like, see different things, like exploring new opportunities. And yeah, it just stuck on to me, like that whole thing of whoa, like this really famous and like important person read my sixth grade like compare and contrast article about Star Wars, right? But yeah.
That's really cool, and I'm really glad that you shared that, because oftentimes I'm sharing with teachers just the importance of allowing students like yourself to write, but then giving them a platform where it's not just writing and turn it into the teacher, but you're writing it to, you're going to have an audience, and sometimes you never know who that audience may be. So yeah, that is really, really cool that I forgot about that assignment. And I think it was one of the
Mhm.
movies had just come out too. So I always tried to stay
Yeah.
current as far as like what's coming out. How can I keep these kids engaged and whatnot? Um,
Mhm.
and the other thing is this is that while we were in class together, we often dove into conversations and discussions about comics and pop culture. Can you recall any specific moments or any insights from these discussions? Like, did any of those conversations have like a really big impression or a lasting impression on you?
Yeah, so I feel like just in general, like you've mentioned before, in your class, it was very like it was the first time I ever felt like as engaged. Like, yes, like my other grades, I had amazing teachers too, but it was the first time where like the material was being presented in a different manner and it was more like relevant, right? Like okay, I felt connected. I felt like everything, it didn't at times it didn't feel like, oh, we're learning these textbook concepts because you would always compare it to something that was going on at the moment, whether that be pop culture movies or just something that was going around during that time,
Even the
like
news.
any
Remember,
trends.
we would do the
CNN 10.
CNN 10. Yeah,
Yeah, that whole thing, like it just felt really updated and like just a fresh of breath air in like education, which I honestly had never experienced before your class. Everything just always felt like textbooky and traditional. But a specific thing involving like pop culture within the education, I'd say is that like the connections you made. Like I when you would bring up like a superhero, whether that be Iron Man or like Captain America and that kind of stuff into like education, you would always put it in the perspective of like you would emphasize imagination over everything, right? Like that whole idea that like everything like you could only get as far as your imagination can take you. So
right.
it was like I felt in that class environment that it wasn't just about learning the material. It wasn't just about, oh, know how to add, know how to do whatever we were doing. It was more like you can use these as tools and go to the next level with it and like see like just you see how what this is happening like in this part of the movie, like this is possible in some sort of way in the real world. You
Yeah,
just gotta you apply these tools that I'm teaching you and see where it can take you and like see where that goes. So and yeah, like I just feel like I think there was a mention somewhere throughout our class of like, I think Black Panther and that kind of stuff, where it was like when Marvel started like presenting these different superheroes from like different backgrounds and that kind of
hmm,
stuff.
yeah.
It was just like the whole idea of um like it gives you motivation, right? Like you see
Well, it
like
was the whole
these
diversity. I wanted all of us to be seen. I'm like, hey, we're finally getting
mhm.
some representation too.
Yeah. It was that whole idea of like, yeah, we're being represented and like keeping that whole imagination thought for motivation. And it was like, okay, if I see this person that I can relate to doing these great things and like I'm being taught that my imagination is my only limit, then what's stopping me from like continuing to pursue whatever I want to, right? And I feel like that just unlocked a level of creativity I didn't know I had. And yeah, that just it stuck up to me like from now on. Like I feel like it guided me throughout like my rest of my middle school, high school, and even college career.
That's really cool. And if I recall correctly, um, I remember taking a photo of you, and when I go back and edit this, I'm gonna put this on it's on Twitter, but it's you holding a 3D image of your name that you had designed and printed out yourself. Can you kind of share with everyone what was going through your sixth grade 11, 12 year old mind when you got to play and engineer and design something and got and printed it out like on a 3D printer?
Yeah, so for me, 3D printing, like at that point in time, was just something very like out of a movie, right? Like for me, printing was typing something out and printing it out on paper 2D, like that's it. And when I heard that we had access to like a 3D printer in our own classroom, I remember you had this list of names and like it was the order and I was up there because I think it was last name based. I was just so excited to get to use it because I was like, this is crazy. Like, what do you mean you're telling me I can print something like that you would normally build with like real, like it just felt so surreal to me. And yeah, like I remember when I got my shot, you explained like the really basic CAD software at that time. And I just started messing around with it. I made like a little rectangle, tilted it, put my like initial, like my name on it, like a little name tag, and then put like two gears in the back of it to like support the rectangle. And
Yeah.
then like of course the base and everything. And I just remember like being really excited, waiting for it to print. And the second I had it, it was just crazy. Like I remember going home to my parents and showing them, and it was just a really cool like experience for me because it was the first time I ever got like exposed to like technology in that aspect since I've never really was put in that scenario. So it just got me excited. It got me thinking of what else I can print out. What is this like realm of like even like CADing, which at the time I just thought it was like a fancy thing where you just put like little like what's it called shapes together.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
just really like eye opening, but it was really cool.
That
I'm never I still have it.
I remember that list specifically too. And actually I kind of broke the rules because our school and our district initiative was to make sure that everyone was using Achieve 3000, a
Mm.
specific amount of minutes per day. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to give everyone 1 week off of having to do that. And during that time, that's when they're going to play with the 3D printer. And I'm not going to lie, Edvar, like I thought to myself, like, I don't know really how to embed this in curriculum. I just want to give you all exposure to it. And I just want to give you a chance to play with something that, on the other hand, you might not have a chance to see again. Not a lot, the reality is not a lot of your classmates, they're not in the position where you're at, where you continue, you're allowing yourself to see more advanced technologies and tools and engineering practices that are out there that not a lot of people have access to. But I wanted to give everyone that same spark, and everyone had a chance to play. All 31 of you had a chance to play with that 3D printer, which is really cool. And it was one of my favorite things. I remember one time I even printed out were you there when I printed out the Darth Vader action figures?
I was there.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
Those came out pretty good, man. Those ones came out pretty cool. That's really
Yeah.
cool. Um, so let's go ahead and kind of talk a little bit about your experience, especially more with STEM in the classroom. And if you want to emphasize how it's maybe impacted you when you went to middle school, high school, and where you're at now. But one of the hands-on aspects also that we had in our class was visiting some of our innovation labs that we had at the time. I believe the only experience you had was to visit the innovation station lab there at in the Chula Vista library, the main library. Do you remember any of that experience? And if you do, like, what do you remember from it?
Yeah, so I think that was the time where it might have just opened or something like that. Because I
Mhm.
remember the news came and you were like, okay, we got to sign waivers because they might interview you guys. And then we're like, what? Like, what's going on? But yeah, I remember being there and we had to do like a little project, which was like a story. We used like little servos and like that kind of stuff. And like, they gave us like a lot of materials and like a poster board and we had to like create an elaborate story. I don't remember. I think the first time we went like with the where the news was there and like when it just opened, it was just like create a story and like show what you made. But I remember like after that, like I remember in middle school, like it started actually having like, oh, it's a challenge. But going back to like the elementary school one, yeah, it was just, I remember that our project I was with, I don't remember who I was with, but my team, I remember just talking like, okay, what are we gonna make and everything. And we found the chicken and then we placed like we hot glued the chicken on top of the servo and then we made like this whole like chicken Godzilla type of thing of like putting little fireballs like little colored balls all around and like fire and the chicken would just look around and it would be like it was shooting the different fireballs. It was a pretty fun project. It was really cool to get to see like what servos were and that kind of stuff. And yeah, it was awesome.
And you had a chance to learn about Arduino and coding that, I believe, that day.
Yeah.
This is, and if you don't remember, that's totally fine. But do you remember picking career cards also that day?
I do remember, and I still have those in my room. They're
Really?
hanging somewhere. I still have everything from like the innovation station, that kind of stuff. I still have like the little. I remember we picked out. I got like computer science. It was like robotics engineer and like software developer. Those are the three like different cards I had or something like that. But yeah, I still have those, and it said like the salary and then like a little description and then like the projected like career opportunities and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great memory. That's really cool. That was yeah, it's one of those things where we have to keep up with it. But that's awesome. And do you remember the teacher? It wasn't me because I took you all. Remember who the teacher was?
I do not
It's
remember,
okay. His name was
to
Mr.
be
Michael
honest.
Bruder. He's now the director of all the innovation
Um,
departments there in Chula Vista. So
yeah.
he might reach out to you to give maybe come inspire a lot of the younger engineers that want to see some local talent, man. So you're gonna be you might be recruited just to share your story again. So
No, that'd
okay,
be
so now
awesome.
let's talk a little bit about just how these things in the classroom and outside of the classroom. You mentioned earlier about how it impacted you. Where I remember I created like a geek squad, and I remember calling it the Tech Runners there at Rice. And rather than having myself or Mr. Jackson, if you remember Mr. Jackson, having to go help
Yeah.
out the teachers would submit a ticket, we would get it, and then I would send you and a couple of other students. But I would show you in our classroom, like, hey, when you go to their computer, this is probably what you're going to want to do. But so explain how that experience you were sharing with that impacted you into middle school and then high school, right?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I remember the tech runner being a tech runner. It will stick on forever. But yeah, it was like the whole idea of like we were like the people that fix the tech around the school, right? We would push around the carts like whenever it was like testing season, push around and set up like the laptops and everything. And yeah, I remember like we had like this little badge, and like I think I mentioned before, yeah, like I still kept that. I still have that badge in my room, like the tech runner. And then, like I said, like I had like a little like robot like road runner because I was like the mascot of our school
Right.
and that kind of stuff. And then I feel like that I really liked that environment and liked being like all the techie and fixing stuff around school. So in middle school, I joined the techies, which it was like during our first period advisory, and during that time we would go and fix like the like if any teachers had any problems, but we had like our assigned classrooms and we would go and check up and like see if all their stuff was working involving like the iPads and that kind of stuff. And yeah, I got badges from there too, from like Apple. It was like more Apple based since it was like we were fixing the iPads. So it was like I have my seventh grade badge and my eighth grade badge. And then in high school they didn't have that anymore. So then that's when I took things to the next level and I started like reaching out and like doing competitions and like just expanding like my outreach within that like sort of thing.
So let's get now into like you're in middle school, now you're in high school. What what made you decide to like clearly you have an aspiration to look into STEM and engineering and problem solving and all these different tools and things that you were exposed to, but where did you make the decision where like I want to be an engineer. I want to go to an engineering school and I want to make this a career. How did that decision come about?
Yeah, I feel like up until ninth grade, like before that, I was like, yes, I love technology. I love it's exciting, it's new, it's like the closest thing to like this like imaginary world, like superhero world, right? So then it was like, okay, but when I got to high school, and then I was like, okay, this is like the 4 year path of like, what do you want to do after high school, right? Like, where are you taking this? Yeah, I remember I used to tell people like, oh, like when they were like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was like, something involving tech. But I feel like in ninth grade, after middle school, since I was involved with robotics and that kind of stuff, like participating in like district-wide competitions for Bex Robotics, that's when I really solidified. I was like, okay, I want to keep doing something revolving robotics. I like I'm open to everything, but like this is like what I'm really passionate about. Then I searched it up and I found mechanical engineering. I had that little debate throughout high school of mechanical engineering or electrical engineering. And to solidify like which side I would pick, I threw myself out into like different opportunities, of course, like followed with robotics in some different aspects. But for electrical engineering, I actually worked with Qualcomm Think a Bit Lab one of my summers, and I
Nice.
worked at Chula Vista Middle School. And I was just like an intern there and like helping out like with the whole they were doing similar things we did like in elementary school of like creating a project, but for them it was like a challenge or something like that. Like they had to think outside the box and had to have a purpose and that kind of stuff. And it was just really cool. Like I still remember the kids I helped, and like it's just so crazy because like it's just it makes you feel good about yourself because it's like dang, like I was in this same position years ago, and it's like and now I came back and I'm like being on the other end of the spectrum, right? Like I'm helping out these kids. I actually understand what's going on. I wrote the code for some of the stuff so they could have like base stuff like an Arduino, and it's like a full circle moment, right? And it's
Right.
like and then that like kind of showed me that yes, this is interesting, but electrical engineering maybe is not my thing. I kind of like more the mechanical stuff. So then I stuck onto that. And yeah, that's where I'm at today, pursuing mechanical engineering.
That is really, really cool. And do you have any aspirations while you're there in school, like any opportunities that you want to look forward to, or any competitions? And it's like, so basically now that you started school, what, you're like a 3 or 4 weeks in, aren't you?
Yeah,
So like,
it's
so
we're
from there,
moving.
like what are the possibilities for you for the next 3 years that you have there at CalTech?
Yeah, so during the summer, I actually came in way earlier. I came in like in not sure, but I came in like end of July type of
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
I got onto campus and because I was part of this program that CalTech does called FSRI, which is meant it's like run by the CCID, which is the CalTech Center for Diversity and Inclusion and that kind
Nice.
of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like this bridge from high school and like they choose underrepresented students that like might have some gaps within education because yes, we were all admitted, but of course education is not standardized and like we all come from different paths. So it's just to get you at a better like place to start the year. So yeah, during the summer, I was involved with this one of the clubs on campus. That's like the CalTech Rocketry Club, Parsec, and I did research with them. If I remember my research project correctly, it was the analysis of rocket engine injectors through water patternation. And it was this whole process. We had a team, and like it was like a month process coming in every day to lab, and it really put you in that like intense, rigorous like lab environment. And then alongside of that, we had like our math and English class that we had to keep up with. But yeah, like I got involved with the Rocketry Club. I was mentored on like under Jack, one like a PhD student here at CalTech. And yeah, it was a really good experience. It was really rewarding, definitely challenging throughout the way, but at the end of it, like presenting our research and like seeing that like wow, we actually pulled this off, even though like of all those like stressful nights and everything. It was just crazy. And I feel like I'm still gonna probably be involved with that Caltech Rocketry Club, which actually solidified my idea of pursuing an aerospace minor alongside my mechie major. But yeah, I'm planning to be involved with them. There's also like a Formula One racing club on campus that we build like cars and that kind of stuff,
Nice.
FSAE. So I'm planning to get involved with them. And of course, like I feel like it's really important for me to keep a balance between pursuing what I'm interested in and like getting exposed in that, but also like staying connected with my background and my ethnic like identity.
Right. Right.
So like I'm also involved with classes, which is the Hispanic Association here at CalTech. And yeah, like staying like yesterday, we had like a dinner and they had like music playing, like banda and that kind of stuff. And then they had so much like food that I missed so much because you come to realize that like yes, the dining hall food is great, but like nothing is better than like your mom's home cooked meals, right? So it's like I missed it. It was close, didn't reach the level, but it was good. It was good.
You know what? Nothing will ever replace mom's home cooked meals. I will tell you that. Going to UC Davis and being 8 hours away from San Diego, I missed I missed everything about Mexican food specifically
Yeah,
from San Diego and more specifically from Chula Vista. All right. So nothing compares to where we're
nothing
from
compares.
at all. So that is cool. That's, you know what? And with that, I'm going to go ahead and just finish off. And Edvar, I wish you the best and best of luck in your next 3.5 years and more. Take opportunities to study abroad, take opportunities to do all the experiences that are being offered, make the most of it because when you start getting into the field and getting with work, then your life are going to have different stages. So the stage that you're in right now, just continue to go at it. And I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in today. We really hope you enjoyed today's episode and focus. And we really want to invite anyone to have, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future topics, please feel free to send me an email at cbgarcia@sandiego.edu. Also be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Innovative Pedag. So it's Innovative Pedag. So we look forward to our next few episodes and can't wait to share the interview or the interviewees we're going to be having on. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on all platforms and share it with your friends and whatnot. And thank you again. And we'll catch you all next time.